Good morning. Hi, it's Leanne Boyd, and I'm sorry I'm late today. I had a unexpected client call in, and yes, so these things happen in our days. That things pop up, and we just have to be flexible and adaptable. So yes, I did put a little comment that I would be here at 10:30. So hi, and I'm Leanne Boyd, and welcome to this week's edition of Cuppa Courage Tips. So this we're going to talk about stress and the effects that it has on your brain and your body, and a few little tips about what you can do about it to help your situation. And I'm going to continue this another episode on stress next week as well. So what actually is stress to us as women? Well, I'll give you the definition of what stress actually is. It's a constellation of events consisting of a stimulus or a stressor, if you like, that precipitates a reaction in the brain, also known as a stress perception, that activates the physiological fight or flight systems in the body to activate this. That's known as the stress response. So stress can be classified as a good stress, or it can be classified as a tolerable stress, or a toxic stress. And the toxic stress is the ones that we really need to be on the lookout for. And long-term exposure to stress can actually change the biochemistry makeup of your body. And that's when we start to get all sorts of illnesses pop up and chronic situations and problems within our body. So you may notice that when you're very stressed, you tend to reward yourself. So the reward circuitry in your brain overlaps with your stress circuitry in your brain. So you might find when you're stressed, you're going to go for that bar of chocolate. You're going to sit down with a glass of wine. You're going to tuck into the carbs and sweets, or you may even start smoking, have a cigarette, which is, all of those above are bad for you. So this adds to the toxic workload of your body. So let's take a look at where stress begins. Stress begins in your brain, not in the adrenal glands. There's so much talk about cortisol and what cortisol can do to your body, and rightfully so. I've had a client of mine whose overload of cortisol totally fried her brain and actually destroyed part of her brain. And she was at work, and all of a sudden she just stood there and went totally blank and couldn't think of anything. And she was working in a frontline position at an airline, and she had people lined up behind the check-in desk, and she was just standing there looking kind of like a stunned mullet and not even able to move or think. She just had a brain freeze, and that was because the cortisol levels in her brain just reached to a level where it destroyed her thinking. So stress is actually stored in the memory of our brain too when we experience it. So it then gets stored in our memory, and women are very, very, very good at storing emotions in our subconscious mind. And these stresses are brought forward then, that are stored in our brain when we have an emotional trigger in our daily life, and it just comes forward, vroom, and we think, oh my gosh, where did that come from? It can kick off a stress response and take us totally by surprise and react in ways that we didn't even think that we had within us, but it's come forward in anger or rage or whatever. So I'll just go into a little bit about the biochemistry of a stress response with you. The peripheral stress response consists of 3 well-known stress hormones: adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. Okay, so I'm just going through this so you can understand yourself a little bit better. And these are all released by the sympathetic nervous system. So, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system of our bodies. I always tend to think of our sympathetic nervous system is activated when we're stressed. So sympathetic, the S, sympathetic stress, you think of the S at the start of the word and you'll be able to pair them up. When you think of the parasympathetic nervous system, it's our calming control. So para, beginning with the P, I go peace. So you can then marry them up that way. It's just an easy way for you to remember which is which. So these are all released on activation of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal HPA axis in your body. So in our body, we have receptors of one or more of these 3 hormones, and they are expressed virtually in every cell of our body. Noradrenaline and adrenaline connect with every single cell in our body when we're in a stress response situation. No one cell is immune to this. So the receptors will inform the hormones, the presence of this stressor, and then it will induce the changes in our tissues in our body that are responding to that stress. So it really is a whole body situation with stress. The role of cortisol in your body, it has many roles within your body. It's to mobilize energy as a response to a stressor in your body, and it releases all sorts of free fatty acids and white adipocyte cell stores. So when we're chronically stressed all the time, you may notice that you tend to lay down your belly fat. When you see ladies it's hormonal, of course, cortisol is a hormone, they have your belly fat across here. From a psychosomatic point of view, that belly fat is like your armor, if you like. That's your armor that you've laid down across your stomach, which is your emotional part of your body. It's your emotional around your solar plexus is where you store all your emotions. Just realised I forgot to put my microphone on, so you may be able to hear me a little bit better now. So it's just when we have these elevated cortisol levels in our body, that's when we really find our body will change. We have muscle degradation. We have elevated blood glucose levels. We gradually wear and tear the hippocampus, our thinking area of our body, and our frontal cortex of our brain. And that can impair your mood and memory and the ability to shut off production of glucocorticoids, these hormones within your body that can cause damage. So let's just have a look at some of the signs that you need to actually deal with stress that's accumulated in your body. Okay, some of the signs that you can recognize yourself. You think, oh, wow, this is a telltale sign that I'm on stress overload. So you may notice that you're doing the same thing over and over again, apparently pointless things over and over again. Or engaging in destructive behavior, self-destructive behavior, self-sabotaging, in other words. When your brain gets stuck, it might start stuttering and repeating patterns like a broken record. You'll find yourself picking at things, have obsessive thoughts, and even fiddling with body, twirling of the hair or picking at the nails or biting nails. You'll find yourself fidgeting with your body in a kind of routine way. These are the signs that your brain is overwhelmed with stress and losing its ability to cope. Brené Brown would describe one telltale sign of a stress overload as chandeliering. It's when you are fine and all of a sudden you'll get just sudden sharp stabbing pain, release of pain in your body, and you just think, oh, don't know where that comes from, and you sort of jump, kind of like you're heading for the chandelier. So that's another telltale sign that your body is just really finding it hard to cope. Another telltale sign is that you're turning into a bunny hiding under a hedge, and you start to really isolate yourself from the world because your brain is stuck and it's losing its ability to recognize when a stressor is gone. So you may not even feel stress at that moment, but you are hiding away when there's no need to. It's when you might find yourself sitting down to watch YouTube on constant roll, and you hit the cat and the dog videos, and you really want to just be in that mode away from the world. Or you might sit and eat ice cream on the floor and you think, oh my gosh, this is just so comforting. Once again, it's going back to your reward circuitry that overlaps with your stress circuitry of your brain. You might even start using potato chips for as a spoon for your food. Who knows what your habits are? But please look for these telltale signs within yourself that you are on stress overload. Your whole body feels out of whack. You're getting sick all the time. Infections won't move on. You have chronic pain and injuries. You're finding it really hard for your injuries to heal. So I just want you to realize that stress is a whole biological event that happens inside your body, and it can cause biological problems to you, and it causes them to occur. Chronic illness and injury can be exacerbated by this chronic activation of the stress response all the time. So, do you recognize yourself in any of that? Does any of that fit with you? Let's just look at some of the ways you can reduce your stress. We can work with stress loads to counteract the effects of what the stress can do to you. So reduce your cortisol. Reduce the cortisol on the brain before we address diet and the gut issues that this stress has caused within your body. If you start to look at the core cause of the stress and reduce your stress, you will have longer lasting change when you do all the other things in line. Like look at your gut, look at your diet, look at how you're handling your emotions, okay? Exercise. Physical activity tells your brain that you have successfully survived the threat of stress and your body is now a safe place to be. So physical activity is the single most efficient strategy for completing the stress cycle response. So get out there and exercise. Go for that brisk walk, go to the gym, go for a run, go and do sport, go and do whatever you need to do, yoga, tai chi, anything that fits you and your body, go and do it. So because the physical activity is a sure way that your body can bring down those stress levels. Breathe. Get into your deep, slow breathing because that can down-regulate your stress response, especially when the exhalation of your breath is long and slow and goes right to the end of your breath and actually causes your tummy to contract. That's when you know that you've really done a great job with your breathing, and get right down to the core of it and exhale right to the end. Deep breathing can also help to unlock your trauma. Another way is to have a big old cry. You know, that's also a stress release. It's not a weakness at all. It's a healthy thing that you have naturally had put in your body and in place so you can reduce and release that stress. And if you're having trouble crying, read a sad book or go and watch a tearjerker movie that's going to get you into that place where you can release your emotions along with the characters in the movie. Go out and paint. Increase your creative expression in your life. Engaging in creative activities leads to more energy. If you go and sit down and have creative expression today, you'll have more energy, excitement, enthusiasm tomorrow. It really does reduce your stress levels, and it is a way you can express yourself on paper, in recordings. So whether you write stories, write poetry, write songs, paint, create, crayons, whatever you want to use, just even make craft. Craft is really a lost art. Knitting, crocheting. I have a friend who's just started up Make Space Studios to encourage women to go and create that space for themselves where they can just go and be and create and reduce their stress levels and have the rewarding feeling afterwards of holding something that they've actually made. So there's 4 things. We'll continue this next week, but I want you to know that wellness is not a state of being, it's a state of action. So get out there and do those things. Exercise, breathe, create, and have a little cry. To have that release of that physical, the tears flowing. But when you have chronic issues in your body, gut issues, chronic pain, that's when you can come and see me for naturopathy. Or if your stress is ongoing and you find yourself with lots and lots and lots of negative emotions that just keep you stuck in this daily cycle of autopilot, if you like, and you're striving for more but you just can't get there, that's when you come and have a chat with me too, and we can talk about Creatrix and talk about how that can get you through to the other side fast, efficient, effectively, with long-lasting change. So please comment below about what you've got out of this talk, and also if you'd like me to address any other areas within this talk next week about stress and what you can do and the effects on the body. Please comment below in the comments, and we'll have a chat about that next week, and we'll continue and address your concerns as well. So that's it from me, Leanne Boyd from Fearlessly Free Women, and have a great week. Sorry I was late today, but we just adapt, don't we, as women do. So have a great week, and I will see you next week for the next episode of Cuppa Courage Tips. So thank you, and thanks for watching. Bye.